I keep finding my way back to the Keys. Originally a maritime trade and fishing outpost, the ocean here has always been a way of life. Over the years, however, the industry's changed, and tourism has left deep scars. Scuba divers and fishing charters have brought with them hungry sharks that have learned people need food, and meanwhile, the fish have gotten fewer, the pressure heavier, but something about this place still holds me. It's one of the only places where, just a short ride from shore, you can drop in on wahoo on the surface, black grouper stacked under ledges, and muttons pushing in with the current, all of it pulsing around living reef. Down there, everything slows down. You see it all, the hunt, the rhythm, the way this place still breathes beneath the surface. I don't come here looking for what it used to be. I come for what's still here, and for the chance to meet it face to face.
Welcome back to another episode of One Up, One Down Adventures. We're in the Keys, we're on the skiff, and the visibility is insane. You can see 75 feet of water, top to bottom. You can see the bottom clearly. I'll get in the water and show you. See you there.
Someone's going into enemy territory.
One day, Evan, when one of us is gone, the other's gonna be really glad that we did this.
I'm gonna watch bro.
Oh, my back.
My knee.
We're here. We made it.
That drive wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, says the ones who were sleeping. Welcome back underwater, everybody. Got a doozy of an episode for you all today. Had to work to find him though. This is the first spot. You can see we're about 75 feet, and it is top to bottom. You can literally make out fish from the surface. We weren't really seeing much life, not much bait, not much fish, but we want to do some drops anyway because this has been a productive zone for us in the past, and we just wanted to see maybe they were up under ledges or something. It was worth taking a single drop. I ended up taking more than a single drop. I ended up doing a couple, one up by the boulders, one up by the ledges, which is normally not protocol for us in the Keys, because in the Keys we're trying to cover water because there's so much bottom that looks good and productive that you're really trying to just find the zones that have life on them. Normally we use the sonar to locate the life, and then we take some drops. Ended up finding this boulder with some bait on it. Saw this margate, but it was the first dive of the day, and I didn't really commit passionately. Let him swim. When you see bait like this, it's normally a good sign the grouper like it, but there weren't any grouper around, so we switched spots. And now I'm dropping down on a new spot, a little bit shallower. I think this spot is 65 feet. It's just in a slightly dirtier area. I level out past the ledge, again, kind of trying to scan for life. It's much more important on these first few dives of the day and of the trip that we find life than punch it to bottom and hang out there. You'll see that I start going to bottom once we find spots that have life. This one, you can tell there's a little bit of life around. There's bait spread out across the reef. I see some mangrove snapper in front of me, and decide that one of these mangoes is gonna get the shaft. I line up here and I take a bit of a rush shot because it has been about 20 hours since I had any meaningful kind of rest. Anyway, next dive. On my way down, again, looking for grouper. This is a new spot, back to about 75 feet. And this clarity is just ridiculous. Like, it's so insane. Like, when we move out to 90 feet, it looks the exact same from the surface. It looks like we're in 20 feet, even in 90, because of how clear it is. You got this kind of Swiss cheese type bottom with these really nice pronounced ledges, which is our favorite stuff to dive out here in the Keys. Always kind of diving along these ledges. Not finding tons of life here, but I do find this little black grouper. He's not legal though, so I'm just kind of checking him out. But normally when you see ones like that, it's a good sign that there are others around, especially in the summer, when they come a lot shallower. All right, next drop. Unfortunately, it looks like this spot just had the little children black grouper, because on this drop, I again come down, and this is the deep side of that same ledge, because I figured if there were little ones on the shallow side, maybe there were some bigger ones on the deep side. So I move around to the back, and on this spot, I think I'm dropping like 78, 80 feet. So it's not that much deeper, but the logic still holds. And you see there's bait above the reef, which is a really good sign. The reef itself looks great. And I'm looking around, and there's this little baby black grouper just floating up in the column, like just not a care in the world. You can see him right there, but again, pretty small. So I just kind of check him out, head up to the surface. Now I know there's life, I'm gonna start dropping to bottom. So I go back to the shallow side of the ledge. We're kind of just drifting back and forth because the current is a little bad. So we end up having to set up drifts starting on the deep side of the ledge and moving to the shallow side. So when I say that I go back to the shallow side, what I really mean is that this is the end of the drift. I hang out on this shallow side, and this is basically the last dive of the drift, because everything inside of me is going to either be sand or this tiny little reef, which is good for mutton. And this is what I end up seeing. You can see him way on the edge of my screen there. I'm dusting and grunting to try to get him to come in. I'm sitting at the bottom here at around 55, 60 feet, just kind of trying to get this guy to come into me. I don't have that much range right now because I don't have my third band. So while I have a little bit of range, I don't have punching power. So I have to kind of creep into him, let him come a little closer to me, and pick my shots well. Right here, he gives it to me, and I just barely get it off at the very end of my range. You'll see when I get him up a little bit that I'm playing him super light, because my shot is like kind of barely in. And if I didn't have a double flopper, I probably wouldn't have landed this thing. But I get to the surface, and I'm just kind of really lightly pulling him up. A couple sharks come in to check him out, but they don't really seriously commit to anything. You can see that it's just so clear. You're gonna see both of them come in as I'm pulling them up. I think it's a couple bulls, or maybe a nurse and a bull. I don't fully remember. I think that first one is a nurse, and the second one is a bull that comes in, if I remember properly. Yeah. Anyway, you can see there that I only got him with the first flopper. The second flopper didn't toggle through him, but we got him. Put him in the boat and get back in the boat for another drift. So back to the deeper part of it. Dove the front side of the ledge back in 85. Didn't find what we needed, and so we're over the main part of the reef now, drifting. Drop in the middle of the reef. And the problem with when the current is this bad is when you shoot something, recovering it is very difficult, because you have to kick super hard to stay over the spot, and that kind of sucks. So I'm here, and you can see I'm facing into the current as I'm drifting down. I'm kind of being super chill about it, because I'm not really seeing much on this drop. I get really picky about drops directly onto the reef, because most of the time we see most of our fish on ledges. So here I'm kind of looking for mutton, grunting. Maybe there's a grouper in one of these holes, and here this mutton comes in. And I line up, take the shot right behind the coral, and he just immediately tears off. But I have good dive buddies, and Evan, when I get to the surface here, swears that he sees exactly where this mutton went. So I'm going to get to the surface, and he's gonna already be diving down right here, and so is Noah. I'm reloading, whatever. He takes a drop, he relocates it, and then after that drop, we take another drop, and he takes a shot at it. Boom. And is able to pull it up right here using that red tide gun. And we're able to secure this mutton, which is good because I don't like shooting fish and having them tear off or like having any problems where I feel like a fish is suffering and has to either heal or is just going to die because we shot it and we weren't able to get it back. We were able to retrieve this fish, which is really great. And I'll show you him in a second where he tore off. You can see in his guts right there. I had to change the exposure on the fish because of how gross the lighting was. It was like blinding me while I was editing, so that's why that looks a little weird. Take another drop, and now it's getting to be a bit later in the day. This is another drift, so it's another semi-deep drop, like 77, 78. At least for these spots. Later we move out to about 80, 90, but for this spot, this is the deep side of the ledge, and on my way down, again, kind of just scanning for life, because each new drift is over a new area, and I find this great school of grunts, a margate around, and I make a mental note of this area, and I go to shoot this margate because I want it now. Now we're hunting for meat. Now I'm not letting them swim. And this kind of very recognizable area you'll see is gonna be where I'd take the next couple drops as well, because I know that because there's that much bait around, there was a predatory fish too, that the mutton was right near there too, that there's gonna be black grouper on this part of the ledge. I know like for sure that they'll be around. So I pull up this margate. I'm kicking to stay over this part of the ledge, and when you're kicking like that in current, you have to remember that you're not going to be able to dive as deep as you normally can, or for as long, because you're using up a lot of energy to stay over the spot. And normally I wouldn't even recommend kicking to stay over the spot at all. I'm trying to point out to Noah the part of the reef to dive on, and he kind of misses it where we need to drop. So I'm sitting there trying to film. I can't tell if that's Evan or Noah. They have like the same wetsuit and snorkel and fin, so I have to identify them by their gun. But anyway, he drops on the wrong part of it, so I go back to this pretty much exact same part of the reef. I'm slightly behind where I shot that margate, and what do you know? There's a black grouper sitting right in front of me. He's like kind of barely legal, so I look around to see if there's any others. But again, I'm hunting for meat right now. So here's exactly where I shot that margate, and he tries to disappear in front of the ledge, and I let him swim because I know I can just drop on him again. So take another drop on pretty much the exact same spot. I'm dropping in the same part of the ledge as before, because I know if I drop on that front side of the ledge where I saw him swim to, he's just going to spook again. So I'm trying to drop right on top of that school of bait, because I know that that's where they're going to be kind of located around. And when you're dropping with this kind of viz, this deep, it's important to kind of hide yourself behind something on the way down, whether that be bait or sponge or rock. And see, he gets out of there before I even get to bottom, so I have to dive bomb him. Take this shot. He wedges himself up against this coral head a little bit, or this sponge, but I'm able to pull him up in the same dive without having to do recovery dives. That's really good in current. Recovery dives in current suck and are the reason for one of my only blackouts. And safety is always difficult when you're doing recovery dives in really strong current. Noah comes in, check it out. Evan's chilling on the boat. Oh yeah, we had seen a bigger one on like a previous dive, but I wanted meat, so meat is what I got. Throw him in the boat. New drift. Actually, not a new drift. We went in super shallow because this is the end of the day, and I'm hunting shallow, and I hear Noah's gun go off, and he gets a sweet mutton right there.
It's about 2 p.m. and we're wrapping up. Not a bad cooler. We got the black margate, black grouper, a couple muttons, dolo shot, a nice mangrove snapper. Could do better, but honestly, for day one after driving for 7 hours in the middle of the night, no sleep, and having viz like this for the rest of the time, I'm not too upset. We're gonna go fillet up our fish, cook them, eat them, and get ready for tomorrow. And I will see you in the water tomorrow. Noah, swim straight this way.
Alright, day 2, and the current is way worse. We end up having to do very strict drifts with the boat. We can't even spot lock the trolling motor. However, some of these dives have way more life. For whatever reason, we moved out a little bit deeper at the beginning of this day. All these ledges are going to be at about 85 to 90 feet to the sand, and immediately here you see there's big mackerel in the column as I'm getting down, which excites me. There's all this bait on the reef. You can see all those like yellow grunts and the pigfish down there, but you see how the current's just ripping me over the reef. I'm not kicking at all. There's a nice black right there. Take my shot, and it's a little long. He tears out, but it looks like it didn't like penetrate all the way through, so I think that fish will be fine. But this is a good indicator that the spot is covered in life, and if we keep drifting it, we're going to see not only more black grouper, but more, big mackerel, and it should be a pretty good day. Got no on the flashers right there.
Black tore out. Dude, on that one dive, big mackerel, black. This is a good strategy.
So, back down over the reef, take a few shots with this flasher rig to try to get on these, and these mackerel are big. They are not the little Spanish. They look kind of little because I'm kind of taking shots of them from a little bit far away, but some of these things are tanks, and I don't even get close to the huge ones. Some of these are like wahoo size. Like some of these are like 30-pound Ceros, 40-pound Ceros. They're ridiculously big, and these ones are pretty. They're pretty little for the size of the schools that we were seeing. The really big ones would hang out with like 6 of them. I got one of that. That one was probably 10 pounds, tore out. Really hard to get them close enough to shoot with this little 100-centimeter gun. Anyway, this is the craziest dive of the entire trip. I'm changing the color so you can see it, but basically the biggest cubera I've ever seen. Look at the top of the screen right now. You're going to see about a 20-pound cubera, and right next to it, right there, is probably a 50, 60 plus pound cubera. The biggest I've ever seen. Now we're in 90 foot in pretty bad current, but stay tuned for this next episode because we're going to try to hunt that thing. We're going to try to land it. I go up to the surface so as not to freak it out on the bottom, hoping it'll come back in. Those big ones are smart. But stay tuned for next week because we're going to put in our best effort to get that fish.
Tell me, Noah, you saw how big that cubera was. Woo-hoo-hoo.